we said that, you know, unless he gets into the fight, it's going to be a disastrous start for him, and it was more than a disastrous start.
Would you want to see Dillian retire?
Yeah, 100%.
Look, if he is retiring, he's had an amazing career, and let's do it properly, right? Let's have a proper retirement, not just a 17-second Instagram post, right?
Dillian Whyte has officially announced his retirement, and after that humiliating loss, truthfully, he had no choice. The writing wasn't just on the wall, it was carved into stone when Moses Itauma flattened him in the very first round, erasing any hope of a comeback. For a fighter who once stood toe-to-toe with the division's best, the Savage knockout was more than just a defeat, it was a complete—
It's time to retire when your physicalities change. Your punch resistance isn't as good. You know, maybe you're a bit slower. Maybe your desire's not there. We're not saying
destruction of what remained of his legacy. Eddie Hearn didn't even bother dressing it up. He treated Whyte like a beaten dog, saying bluntly, "It's over. The game has passed him by." It was as cold as it was true. That knockout didn't just end a fight, it crushed Whyte's legacy, wiping away years of hard graft in a single merciless punch. Johnny Nelson cut straight to the point.
He's not going to do it again. We've seen it before, and I'm quite sure the common word's going to be the boy that cried wolf. I think in reality,
he's seen this play before. Whyte saying he's retired feels more like the boy who cried wolf than a man closing his chapter with dignity. Nelson knows the score, and so do the fans. This retirement isn't a brave choice, it's a surrender. Getting iced by a 20-year-old phenom in one round leaves no room for theatrics. The act is over, and Whyte's story ends not with glory, but with brutal finality. And Carl Froch? He didn't hold back either. He called out Whyte's true intentions behind this so-called—
He is trying to get attention, he's trying to stay in the limelight and keep in the public eye, or is he trying to do it as a negotiating ploy, so when he's retired it's going to cost a bit more money to get him out of retirement? But either way, if I'm totally honest, I'm getting—
called retirement, cutting right to the heart of it. Froch nailed it. This isn't an honorable exit, it's attention-seeking. Whyte knows that Itauma exposed him in the harshest way possible, and now he's hiding behind the drama of retirement to keep his name circulating. But fans aren't buying it anymore. Froch spoke for the masses. Whyte's excuses are tired, his act stale. The brutal truth is that Itauma—
you know, mojo from Dillian, but listen, it's very difficult when you're 38 years old. You've been out of the ring for a couple of years and you've just had that Tete fight, and you fight a brilliant young sharp fighter. We said that, you know, unless he gets into the fight, it's going to be a disastrous start for him, and it was more than a disastrous start.
Would you want to see Dillian retire?
Yeah, 100%.
What next for Moses? Because there was talk about Usyk.
Yeah, I wanted to see him in with a live, active heavyweight, you know, because he's definitely good in.
Itauma has already stolen the spotlight, and there's no getting it back. Eddie Hearn doubled down, making it crystal clear why Whyte's finished. 38 years old, inactive, and stepping in against a young lion like Moses. It was always going to be a disaster. And a disaster it was. Hearn said what most insiders already knew. The dream of Whyte ever sharing a ring with Usyk or any top contender is dead.
Hey, listen, you got caught the head on the temple. Yeah. And then after that, it was a long night for him. I'm a bit sad, because I didn't want him to go out like that.
Is that because of the fights you had with him?
No, it's because that he's never boxed a southpaw. You know, that's the first southpaw he's boxed in how long? It's maybe his whole career.
Itauma didn't just beat him, he ended his place in the division. Even Derek Chisora, a man who went to war with Whyte, admitted it was a sad ending. But sadness doesn't erase reality. Whyte never adapted, never evolved, and Itauma exposed every weakness in one savage round. Chisora's loyalty to his old rival came through, but deep down, he knew the truth. That temple shot wasn't just a punch, it was a full stop on Whyte's career. Teddy Atlas, never one to mince words, saw Itauma's performance for exactly what it was. Moses isn't just passing tests, he's smashing them. Against Whyte, a man who once believed he was a real contender, Itauma humiliated him in record time. That's why Atlas framed it perfectly. This wasn't just another fight, it was proof that Moses is operating on a level the bookies and critics hadn't yet appreciated. What's frightening—
I think Moses could make it an early night. He could take what possibly could be a test, a step up, and actually ace it. I think it could be earlier than the odds makers even.
Is how effortless it all looked. Moses walked into the ring with the composure of a seasoned champion and the hunger of a prospect still climbing. For Whyte, it was over before it even began. Atlas said it best. Moses doesn't play with his food, he devours it. And that's why he's the most dangerous prospect in boxing today. If he can dismantle a veteran like Whyte with such ease, imagine what happens when the stakes get bigger. Trainer Ben Davison offered a fairer, more balanced take. He gave Whyte his respect as a man, but full credit went to Itauma for what he accomplished. Because let's be honest, no one expected it to be that brutal, that quick. Davison made it clear this wasn't luck, wasn't a fluke. It was Moses showing levels. Whyte stepped up bravely, but he stepped straight into a buzzsaw. Too many people downplayed Itauma before the fight, saying he was untested or too young. But when the bell rang, all that vanished in 60 seconds of destruction. As Davison said, when you get blown out in one round, all you can...
No, I think it's extremely disrespectful to have that approach. Like I say, nothing but respect with Dillian. Really appreciate him giving us the opportunity. And yeah, I think, you know, Moses deserves all the credit that he should be getting.
All you can do is tip your hat. Itauma deserves the spotlight because he didn't just beat Whyte, he destroyed him in a way that forces the entire boxing world to pay attention. Eddie Hearn, always the businessman, knows exactly what this retirement really means. He made it clear this isn't about gracefully walking away, it's about saving face after being humiliated by Itauma. Hearn practically admitted it. Whyte will only stay gone until someone offers him enough cash. But here's the problem. What promoter in their right mind is going to pay big money for a fighter who got sparked out in a single round? The reality is simple. Itauma shattered the aura around Whyte. If this is the end, at least he had a decent run. But if he tries to come back, it'll be nothing more than a payday grab. Fans don't want recycled storylines anymore. They want fresh blood, killers, the next big thing. And right now, that's Moses Itauma, not Dillian Whyte. Former world champion Duke McKenzie.
For British fight fans, because we've got a chance to make the biggest fight in boxing. But, you know, if that is the last we see of him, he's had a great career. I doubt it. But, you know, it's always best to come into retirement to make sure someone pays you to come out of retirement. But if that's his lot, much respect to him and wish him all the...
He captured the jaw-dropping reality best. Itauma didn't just beat Whyte, he made it look like a sparring session. The composure he carried from the dressing room to the ring walk, right into the fight itself, was unbelievable for a 20-year-old. Pressure usually breaks young fighters, but with Moses, it seems to fuel him. That's why the knockout landed so heavily, not just on Whyte's chin, but on the entire heavyweight scene. McKenzie admitted he expected Itauma to win, but nobody thought it would be that easy, and that's the scariest part. If this is what Moses can do against a seasoned veteran under the bright lights, imagine what happens when he faces elite opposition. At just 20, he's calm, ruthless, and already crushing men with years more experience. McKenzie summed it up bluntly. This wasn't just a win, it was a statement to the boxing world. Frank Warren, Itauma's promoter, offered a more respectful tone. He acknowledged Whyte's year.
I thought we would beat Dillian Whyte, but not with that ease. He looked so comfortable, like saying the build-up, in the changing room, his ring walk, his whole sort of demeanour once he actually got into the ring. You know, for a young guy of only 20 years of age, to hold down all that pressure and not show it, it's quite impressive. But what was...
years of service to British boxing, but didn't shy away from the truth. This wasn't Whyte leaving on his own terms. It was a forced exit, and the man who forced it was Moses Itauma. Warren's words balanced respect with reality. Yes, Whyte gave fans nights of entertainment, rivalries, and drama, but all of that crumbled in a single round. His tone almost felt like a eulogy, a goodbye to a fighter who gave his all but no longer belonged at the top. In one fight, Itauma didn't just beat a veteran, he closed his chapter. Whyte's name will now forever be linked to the night a 20-year-old prospect retired him. Dave Coldwell summed up the mood of the fans perfectly. Watching Moses dismantle Whyte felt like watching pure excitement. Coldwell pointed out that Moses doesn't drag things out, doesn't play games, doesn't give opponents breathing space. He doesn't owe the audience extra rounds, his job is to win, and he does it with chilling efficiency. Even before this demolition job, Itauma was seen as the best prospect in world boxing.
So questions here this afternoon about whether we will indeed see him back in the ring. I suppose it's difficult for you to say, Frank.
Well, it is, but I don't believe we will. I think that's the decision he's made. And we've had, I mean, what he's given to British boxing.
Now there's no debate. Beating a name like Whyte, someone who was once in the mix with Joshua, Fury, and Wilder, instantly validates Itauma's hype. The beauty is in his ruthlessness. He steps into the ring with one intention: destroy. Coldwell's excitement reflects the new wave of fans rallying behind Moses. He brings back that raw, Tyson-like aura the heavyweight scene has been missing. If Whyte thought his veteran tricks would slow the young gun down, he found out the hard way. Moses doesn't just take names, he erases them. Antonio Tarver took it even further, comparing Itauma directly to a young Mike Tyson. Tarver didn't hold back. At just 20 years old, Moses has the rare combination of patience and explosiveness. He doesn't rush, doesn't waste punches, but the second he sees an opening, it's lights out. That's exactly what happened to Whyte. Tarver hit the nail on the head. For veterans, facing Moses will be a nightmare. They might have experience, but he has timing, composure, and frightening knockout power. What stands out most is his maturity. He knows how to set traps, he knows how to deliver the finish, and he does it with a coldness beyond his years. Tarver's comparison to Tyson isn't just hype, it's the truth. Moses makes fans feel danger, excitement.
Moses Itauma certainly doesn't owe us any extra rounds, any extra time in fight. He wants to go out there and get rid of these guys as soon as possible, which is why he is so exciting, and which is why, for me, even before tonight, for me, he's the best prospect.
Unpredictability. The heavyweight division has been waiting for its next true wrecking ball, and with Whyte's career now closed, Moses is stepping into that role. Dillian Whyte's retirement feels less like a choice and more like a surrender, forced by Itauma's ruthless first-round demolition. For years, Whyte was a gritty contender, always clawing his way into big nights. But that savage knockout sealed his fate. Now the spotlight has shifted. Moses Itauma, just 20 years old, carries the aura of a future champion already. The question isn't whether he's the real deal, it's how quickly he'll rise. If he continues on this destructive path, he could be fast-tracked to world titles, potentially becoming Britain's youngest ever heavyweight king. For Whyte, the book seems closed. Sure, boxing has seen comebacks before, but after this, a return would be one of the most unlikely redemptions in modern boxing history. The momentum, the hunger, the destiny, all belong to Moses now. He's the hungrier fighter, the mentally stronger fighter, and the one fans truly want to see rise. So the real question becomes, are you backing Moses Itauma's takeover? Or do you believe Dillian Whyte has one last twist left?
I didn't expect that. Did you expect that?
Hey, this is a young kid, 20 years old, with devastating knockout power, bro. This have Mike Tyson type of energy all over it. Yeah, he's going to give these tough guys, he's going to give these veterans a hell of a time, bro. He's poised, he's patient, and he got that knockout power. He know how to set it up. It's going to be a nightmare to get rid of it.
In his story. Drop your thoughts below.